Ryan, if you could just let everyone know who you are and what you're all about.
All right. Well, hey everyone, I'm Ryan from the Indie Music Academy, which is a website and a YouTube channel. You can look at both up if you so choose, or you can just stay here on the video. But the Indie Music Academy is meant to help independent artists uncover the mysteries of the music industry, learn how to grow a larger fan base, and earn an income from their music. So those are the three categories that I love to focus on, especially because the music industry is so confusing sometimes with music royalty collection or copyright, even figuring out how publishing works. It's all kind of confusing. And so what I try to do is clarify that, and then also give artists strategies to grow their audience and monetize. And so that's pretty much what my company does and my YouTube channel teaches. But on top of that, I'm a musician myself. I have music up on Spotify just under my name, and that's really fun. I love recording music at my home studio, and I got my degree in music too. So music just goes deep into my upbringing, my roots, and it's one of my favorite things. And so I'm glad to be here with another amazing YouTube channel owner. I'm a huge fan, Andrew. So it's awesome to be here.
Yeah, thanks, man. So how'd you get into the whole music marketing thing specifically? So, I mean, you've been a musician for a while, but on your YouTube channel, I mean, you cover a lot of different things, not just music marketing. But I think the first video I saw from you was, I think it was comparing music distributors or something like that. Or maybe you were talking about DistroKid or something, which if I remember, you had a bad experience with.
Yeah.
And they're actually who I use too. Affiliate link in the description.
I used DistroKid for so long too.
Yeah. But so how'd you get into like the channel topic that you actually have now, which is largely like music business, music marketing? What was that journey like?
Yeah. So as you pretty much mentioned, a lot of those topics just come out of my own experiences. Being a musician myself, like I had to figure out distribution also. And I was releasing my own music when I was working at Starbucks as a barista.
I worked there too.
Oh, dude.
In college, I worked there for
those green aprons.
Same.
Yeah, it was a good time. And yeah, so like my story, it definitely unfolds in stages because I got my music degree. I wanted to learn music, but something that we never learned in college was music marketing. And so that was a big gap in my education because I got my degree in performance. And so as I'm baristaing and writing and playing and recording, I'm doing a lot of the groundwork just myself and reading books, researching. But then, I was, jumping around from job to job like a lot of musicians. I went from working at Starbucks to getting a video editing job at a surgery center, which is super yummy.
That sounds brutal.
Yeah. And so it's almost like the journey of trying to figure out where I would land also taught me a lot of skills along the way. So video editing, I learned Adobe Premiere and Photoshop, a little bit doing like graphics and titles, and still, performing. I played at my local church every Sunday, so to keep, the chops up. But then I ended up getting a fantastic opportunity working at a startup in their marketing department. And because it's a startup, I wore a lot of hats, which was really cool. So I got to learn from coworkers. I got to do training programs paid by the company. And it was a really great way to learn how to launch something because we were launching a product for the first time. And I built the website. I did a lot of the copywriting and the designing and the photography. And so once again, another opportunity to just learn as the story unfolds. And so a lot of that, especially from my time at the startup, I started thinking like, man, I wish I knew all of this stuff when I was getting my music degree. It seemed to be just a big black hole of knowledge, but it was finally getting filled at the startup. And so I started to think, how can I not only utilize this for my music, but also contextualize these marketing concepts in a way that I would have needed and appreciated as a musician learning music. And so that's pretty much what led to the Indie Music Academy. What I try to do is take marketing principles that are true regardless whether you're a musician or whether you're in e-commerce or starting a business. The marketing principles are true regardless because they're based off of human psychology, and you're trying to make a connection with someone at the end of the day. Yeah. And so that's what I try to teach at the Indie Music Academy, so that musicians can fill that gap that I had when I was starting out. Yeah.
So essentially, it was just that's kind of lucky that you ended up getting that gig as a marketing person for a startup, because that sounds like that was like the missing piece to get you from broke musician to working at Starbucks to actually learning how to do marketing stuff. And I'm guessing that's helped you out in every way, like promoting your own music, but then also starting a YouTube channel, starting your business.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is that I developed a love for marketing at the same time, because I always thought that it was, music and creativity, and then the marketing was just the necessity, that just had to happen. But my mindset kind of changed a little bit as I learned more, because the truth of it is that marketing is creative too. It's a different type of creativity. It's not strumming the guitar, but, just like how writing a book is creative, you're kind of using that creative writer's mind when you're, creating an ad, or you're working on a web page, or you're trying to tell a story that has a purpose. And so that love was kind of kindled when I didn't even think that it should have been there to begin with as a musician. So that was kind of an interesting realization.
Yeah, a lot of artists I talk to think of marketing as this scary thing, that's this boring business type of thing. But I don't know, like that's how I felt about it at first too. But at some point you realize that it can kind of be fun, like especially once things start working. Especially when it's not working, it's kind of horrible. But then you start getting some results, and you kind of almost get addicted to it a little bit. Like you're like, what can I do next to make this? Kind of like when you're writing music, you start like thinking. You almost get a little competitive with yourself. How can I make this better? And the marketing is similar to that. And just like around your song, when you're writing lyrics, you're telling a story. I mean, unless you write different kind of lyrics than most people, and you're not telling stories. But if you're you're doing an instrumental, you're telling a story like sonically. You have an intro. You kind of taking people through an emotional story. The marketing, I mean, depends what type of specific thing you're doing, but most marketing campaigns involve some level of storytelling at some point, where even if you're making an ad, maybe in the text of your ad you're describing the story of the song, or maybe if you're making a music video, you might be telling a story in that music video, or when you decide what social media content you're doing, you might be kind of creating a narrative building up to a specific release so that people have the right frame of mind when your song comes out, which all comes back to human nature and psychology, I guess, which is what you just mentioned.
Yeah, we're a sucker for stories. As humans, it's built right into our DNA. That's why I see so many recurring kind of story structures, like the hero's journey, and which is basically Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and every movie, but not every movie, but.
Pretty much every movie, if it's not a hero's journey, it's something very similar. And if some of you watching don't know what we're talking about, look up the hero's journey and just do some research on it. You'll see that almost every movie, TV show, book, shorts, kid's story even, follows like the exact same format. It's like there's a person comfortable in a place, an external force acts on, person comfortable in a place, they have some big lofty goal, but they're not going out to do it. External force pushes on them, then they have to go on this big journey. They have an initial small obstacle, and then they beat it, but then eventually they have to come to this big, like giant obstacle, and they get like, crushed by it, but then they figure out a way to overcome it. And then at the end, they wrap it up and be like, this is how this person was changed by that, and then they return to home. It's like almost every story from like Hercules, Star Wars. It's like the same thing.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, and every if you're doing YouTube, like if you're a YouTuber, often you try to incorporate that stuff into your videos.
Mm-hmm.
Like you try to think, and it's a little different with education content, but a lot of YouTube videos you watch are probably following the hero's journey in some way. Because when I make videos, I actually will map out my video in like a bullet point mark to try to like somewhat follow the hero's journey.
One of my best videos is basically the hero's journey, the DistroKid video where I explain how DistroKid banned me off their platform. Yeah. And I think the reason why that video performed so well is because I kind of followed the hero's journey a little bit. Yeah. And no, DistroKid wasn't the hero.
Man, it's so crazy that people have issues with different distributors and other people don't. Like, I mean, I've never had anything but good things to say about them.
I have no like I don't want to harm DistroKid. I have no like bad feelings towards them. Yeah. But because I used them as a distributor for like 3 years on their record label account. I had like over 10 releases on there. But then it was frustrating having to move them to another distributor. So that's where like a little bit of the
saltiness came in. Yeah, I think a cool topic to transition. A lot of times people will ask me, hey, I have a song coming out. How should I promote it? So if someone came to you with that blanket question, like, what is like the one or two things they can do for, maybe they've released 5 or so songs, but they've never marketed one before. And someone comes to you and said, I got a couple $100. I could pay for some stuff. I have some time. I could make some content. What should I do, Ryan?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm glad you gave an amount because that was probably the first thing I was going to follow up ask is, a lot of times I kind of think in the mindset, if I had $100, what would I do? Or if I had $200, what would I do? We're not talking about like $1,000 or $10,000, like not like a record label budget either. And so obviously because the budget is so low in comparison to, that record label kind of budget that we see on display from all of our favorite artists, a lot of it's going to be grassroots, right? So the first thing I would do, and it's not sexy at all, but what I would do is every single friend and family member, every single person that we have a texting relationship with, I would ask them to join the announcement list, the mailing list. And once again, it's not a fancy trick, but it's the hard work of getting your first 100 subscribers of family and friends that a lot of people are not willing to do.
Yeah. And
in my mind, that's a big snowball into disaster, because basically what you're teaching yourself is that the mailing list isn't worth it, when the exact opposite ends up being true for independent artists. And so this is a really long point number one, but the most important part about releasing a song is the growth of your mailing list during that song release. So that's why I start from the very beginning and I say, let's build this habit properly by getting your friends and family members to just hop on that list so that you can then build the habit and build the practice of actually using that mailing list. And so that doesn't cost any of the marketing budget at all. That's actually the best part.
I'll interrupt you for a sec. So before we get on to the next topics, like what if someone is making, I don't know, death metal and everyone in their family and friends listens to pop and hip hop and electronic or, whatever genre they're doing, let's say, like, do you think it's still worth it to them to reach out to their friends and family that don't like that style of music? Or like, I mean, because it seems like part of the reason why it's good to do it is just so you get in the swing of things of writing emails and learning how to use everything. But what would you say about that, like, genre mismatch?
Yeah, so for the example I'm giving, genre mismatch doesn't really matter for friends and family. And so I'm just going to emphasize it that these people are your list seeders for lack of a better term, right? And so these people know you personally, and what it is emulating at the end of the day it's kind of the end of the journey for a fan, right? Yeah. A fan will go from not knowing you very well to hopefully becoming completely obsessed with you, but not just you, but everything that you do, whether it's music or whether it's like a side, maybe you start like a coffee roasting company, 10 years from now. And that same fan who loved your albums are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Andrew's making coffee now, or whatever it is, right? So it's the relationship that matters more to me, not necessarily a genre match, right? Because people listen to multiple genres of music. And so it's not just one fan equals one type of genre. And that's true on Spotify too. People listen to different types of music all the time. And so what I would say trumps that and is the most important thing is to build the habit, not necessarily only reserve your mailing list for pop lovers only, or actually in your example, there'd be non-pop lovers, right? That doesn't matter because your friends and family already have a relationship with you. And so that's a great start to an engaged list.
That makes sense. Yeah. So it's not necessarily about when you're starting off, it's more just about building the habits, getting some list, these people like you. They still probably care about what you're doing with your music career.
Absolutely.
Just build it up. And those are your first people. I think I like that.
Yeah.
Something I might do. I don't think any of my friends and family are on my email list. I don't think a lot of the times, I know some people that watch my channel that I actually have talked to in like consultations that they're like, do everything anonymously. Not everyone. Most people don't. But a lot of people will have like fake personas. Like they'll either have everything.
Online,
So I guess for them it'd be a different story. But I think for most people, that's great advice. So what was your next step before I interrupted you?
Okay, so the next thing is you really have to decide because let's just say $200. Yeah. It's going to get burnt up in a minute on Facebook. It's going to get burnt up in a minute wherever, right? So we kind of have to think of mindsets here. So are you going to pay for a service where it's going to do something in an end? Mm-hmm. Or you're going to pay for an investment in yourself, right? That could be, the cliche knowledge, right? Ty Lopez, right? Right. Or some kind of skill, right? So are you going to kind of give yourself the gift that keeps on giving, to keep on saying cheesy one-liners? And so that would be the mindset decision that I think would have to happen first. So if I was to choose the path of, okay, I'm going to hire a service, then I'd say just split the budget 50-50 between ads and either blogs, because blogs will not even care about you unless if they're a part of the release, right?
Yeah.
So ads and blogs or ads and playlists, that's what I would suggest. One more note, I really want to drive this home, is that if you're launching a song, that's the time to actually think about reaching out to blogs, reaching out to people who are going to partner with you through the release process. It's very unlikely that you're going to get a blog written about a song that came out 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's
I've heard a lot of, I've done various blog pitches on Submit Hub and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be what people recommend is that you give them at the very least 2 weeks, but preferably more like 4 or 5 weeks before the release. You're already messaging them because, let's say you submit to them 4 weeks and then a few days later they actually accept or approve it. They probably have a backlog of a bunch of things, and then they might need like a week or two of time to actually make it and then schedule it. So that's something to consider. Don't do it like 1 week before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just like the distributor, they need some lead time. But DistroKid can get that song out in like 2 days.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Literally. Yeah. I'm launching a new band this month, and the process of going from uploading to DistroKid, having it sent to Spotify, ingested by Spotify, and then for me to get the Spotify artist account was less than 48 hours, or roughly 48 hours. So,
dialed.
and that's involving like me contacting Spotify, waiting for their reply, contacting them back, waiting for their reply to get the artist profile and pitch the song. So distro could be fast. Loveface XYZ online strips without closing. You have to be a bot. You have to be a bot.
I don't know, man. It looks like a pretty good offer.
I don't even know. Tell us if you're a bot, Loveface XYZ.
Or you'll get removed from the channel.
Yeah. Or at least removed from the chat.
It's funny.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So to answer the second half of that answer is right. Okay, if decide if you're gonna do some kind of service-based marketing, right, where you're either paying Mark Zuckerberg to show your stuff, or you're paying an influencer to show your stuff, or a blogger, or learn a skill. And so I'd say maybe the top categories there would be, like maybe you learn a little bit of Facebook ads, right? And that's where you come in, Andrew. Maybe you actually learn how the music industry works a little bit so that you can collect all your royalties. You can finally get, affiliated with the performing rights organization, right?
That's where I would 80-20 music business crash course comes into play.
That's right. The 80-20 music business crash course. Everything you need to know. Everything you need to know in a crash course right there. So that's kind of the other mindset. It's like, okay, I always think of a song release as a launch pad, for growth and for pushing your music career forward, right? So with limited budgets, you can't do it all. But hopefully that is helpful to everyone watching. Yeah,
I think that makes sense. So, I guess the number one thing is every release you're thinking about how to go to your mailing list. But when you're starting, fill it up with friends and family if that's all you can do. But I would also imagine that, you should try to have some of your social media content plan driving people to your list in some way. Like, 'cause one of the things we're doing with this new project we're launching this month that I haven't talked to the other guy in the bandwidth about yet, but I'm just going to start doing it and then I'll tell him when I start it, is I was thinking about doing for every single, so like what we already have like a year's worth of music. So we're releasing music every 4 to 6 weeks for the rest of the year. It's already in the bag. So I'm thinking that every time we drop a song, we pick one winner from our email list to send a free t-shirt. And so
that's awesome. Yeah.
That way it's like, and every shirt we do, we're going to make every song we release, we're going to make a custom exclusive t-shirt. And then, so I'm thinking of those two things combined. It's like in the middle of the content that we're already posting, like sharing teasers of songs, performance things, behind the scenes content. We can say things like, hey, do you want to win this shirt? Well, not this one, but when I have the shirt in hand, I'm waiting for it to arrive to me. I can be like, hey, if you want to get this shirt for free, just join our mailing list. We're releasing songs every 6 weeks this entire year. And every release, we're going to pick one. And it may be like 6 months from now, maybe we'll make it 2 people if our list is bigger. Because the cost of that, it's like if we're already spending a few $100s per song, like I think we're allocating $500 per song in total marketing between me and the other guy. So $250 each. To give away a shirt and ship it to someone in the United States, it's like $15. So $15 a month to like, even if that gets us 2 leads, that's like not a horrible deal. Like hopefully it'll give us like 20 leads per.
It'll probably give you a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. And like if you run ads to get leads, it's not unheard of to pay $3, $5, $10 in a bad, in a somewhat worse campaign. So if you can spend $15 for a shirt and get, 15, 20 leads, that's a huge win.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that'll magnetize people to want to join, because I think one of the most common mistakes that beginners make, especially when making their website, they'll just use the template that'll say, join the newsletter. And but no one really wants to be on another newsletter. In fact, what you're offering isn't a newsletter at all. It's really like a direct connection to the artist. And not only that, throw some giveaways. It's just a fun place to be at the end of the day. So anything that can create fun, that can create any kind of like viral possibilities, right? Because I don't know if it'll happen the first time, but word can get out. This guy, crazy guy's giving away free t-shirts and they're actually really cool. So anything that's shareable is a great list grower.
For sure. So
Justin says, what a great idea. Hope you don't mind him this.
Yeah,
It is a good idea.
Yeah, that's something like I came up with today on the whim. I was just like, I want to make a list for this project like from day one, because we don't even have a song out yet. And so I'm trying to think of like, how can I take this new project from like 0 to 100 as fast as possible, and then like make a whole bunch of YouTube videos about it and actually have it go well and be valuable. And so that was my idea for the mailing list. Like, another thing you could do is like, you don't have to actually pay for anything. You can just give people exclusive content, you know, like record some videos, put them on YouTube, but unlist them. And then just say, you know, if you join this email list, you're going to get to see like all these performance videos I never released, like maybe all this studio footage I took that I never released. You know, you're going to see me juggle cats or whatever, you know, whatever weird skill you have, you know, put it in there and make it like, if you're on this list, you'll get all this stuff every month or whatever, you know, or however often you're delivering it. And that's a much better selling point than like, join my newsletter, which most big bands write that. Like, they have professional marketing teams and they seem like they don't really ever utilize mailing lists, but for indie artists, it's like a hard requirement. Yeah.
I was going to say something. What was it? Oh yeah, there are some great tools to help with that too. I don't know if anyone listening has ever tried using like Gleam.io or like, I think ToneDen has some stuff in there.
You do
too, for like giveaway software, basically.
Yeah.
Where you can like incentivize multiple types of sharing, you know, by like share this on, you know, Facebook and get a point, and it earns you multiple entries. So I did that one time, and it really helped engagement, like by a lot. Yeah. So, but the software is expensive. Sometimes I use Gleam, and
I think Gleam it's
probably
like
the most expensive software on the face of the planet.
I think it's like $30 or $40 a month for just the competition portion of their software.
Right, yeah.
But you only need, so I used it for a giveaway once in this channel, and it's totally worth it. But the cool thing is you can just start and stop paying whenever you want. So like
That's exactly what I did too.
Yeah, like you sign up, you make your giveaway, start it, and then you finish your giveaway before the end of the month, and then you cancel it. And so to pay 50, whatever, how much it is, $50 to run a giveaway, that's like, you know, dirt cheap.
It's not that bad. Yeah.
That's probably why it's so expensive, because I know everyone just cancels it after the month.
Yeah, just 1 month. It's like, why is our churn so high?
Yeah, let's just jack up the price to account for that. So it's like they're whatever amount of money they used to make in a year to keep everyone for the whole year, they just made that the monthly price, knowing everyone cancels. Yeah, ToneDen has something like that too. I think on their free plan too. I think it's limited on the free plan, but you can still do giveaways, which is cool.
I'm a big fan of ToneDen. Yeah, I can't speak to their free plan because I don't have it. I think it's worth it. But yeah, I use a lot of I use their link tracker and their link tree copy. Not a real link tree. Their off-brand link tree is great.
Yeah.
Their off-brand Bitly.
Koji is another one that has that stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard of Koji.
Yeah. They reached out to me, but I didn't use them because I was already locked into ToneDen. It's like whoever finds me first.
Yeah, they're in full disclosure, they're sponsoring 6 videos on this channel coming up. So everyone knows, you know, I'm doing some sponsored posts on Koji. But when I talked to them before we even agreed to anything, I was legitimately blown away by what they have in a free thing. Like they never charge you anything. They don't even offer a monthly subscription or a yearly fee. It's always free, and you can like sell stuff through it, and then they take percentage cuts of that. So that's how they make their money. But you know, I'll do videos about it in the coming weeks and months. But another option that you check out, like they have things where like people you know how Cameo has a site? You can like request stuff from a celebrity, pay some money. That's built into the Koji. So it's like a link in bio, but you can have like a Cameo thing where people can pay you like $5 or $10 to have you know, answer a question, take your shirt off, whatever. Yeah.
It's like going to replace the website, basically. That's what they're trying to do for creative people. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool, genuinely. But yeah. So that's the giveaway thing. What were we about to talk about? What were we talking about before that?
Your new side project.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I asked you if someone came to you and they said they had a couple $100 to start promoting.
Mm-hmm.
So how would that story change if someone comes to you and let's say they've been doing music for a couple of years now, they have an album and like 5 other singles they've released, and now they want to kick things up a notch. Every single they're promoting, they want to spend $1,000 in marketing. So you've gone from like a person with only 5 songs and $200 up to a person who's released a bunch of stuff. Maybe they have a couple hundred people on their list. They have a website, and they want to start dropping like $1,000 a song. Yeah. What's your game plan then?
That's a great place to be. I think the first thing to frame this, and I always like to frame the marketing objective because otherwise, you could do anything theoretically, right? So what I would do is I would choose the high value platforms that you're going to invest on, right? Mailing lists aside, we all know mailing list has to happen because it's the highest value, right? The subscriber is just worth so much over the lifetime of the subscriber, right? Because you get to communicate with them for free. You can tell them when you're launching your Patreon, selling your shirts, right? It's a very high value relationship. So next, I would identify maybe 2, 3 platforms if you're really trying to go wide, 3 high value platforms that you're really going to invest in. And by platform, this could be a social media, profile that you have. But funny enough, I kind of see Spotify as a social media as well in a way, right? Yeah. It has a lot of similarities to Instagram. If you think about it, it's like, well, why do we want an Instagram? Well, we want to look good. We want to impress people. We want to get that blue check mark. We want to maybe get a record deal one day. It's one of the first things people check out when they're trying to super sleuth, discover who you are. Yeah. And Spotify is almost exactly the same when it comes down to its communication function, right? How do you communicate with fans through Spotify? Well, you don't. It's really kind of just a big resume. Yeah. For record labels to look at if you're trying to get signed. It also has the added benefit of earning royalties, which is why it's a little bit better than a social media. But that's how I see it. So what are the high value platforms that you want to focus on while you grow? That's what I would decide first. If you have an album, that means you have a lot of songs to potentially promote, but maybe you don't want to promote all of them equally. So what I would do is maybe start testing to see what songs perform better as advertisements. What I call them are the discovery songs, right? So your ballads, probably not going to be the ones. It's going to be the faster, maybe more hooky, catchy songs, especially if we're talking about, rock, pop, hip hop, anything that kind of has a verse and a chorus. You're going to want to find which songs are going to be the ones that attract people, that draw people in, the kind of fan base building songs. And then last, but maybe not least, maybe it's least for some, but in my mind, it's not least. I would try to trigger some kind of algorithm. And I'd say, okay, what is my goal other than growth? Well, there are these algorithms that can help me grow faster. And maybe I should start learning about some of them so I can try to trigger one, kind of have double the growth, right? From my effort and then also from the Spotify algorithm, maybe pushing a song or two, or maybe being on the Discover page on Instagram or the For You page on TikTok or whatever it might be. Right. That's kind of the mindset I would get into around that time when you have a little more budget, more songs, which is great. I would really try to think platform specific at that point.
So I guess let's just say that person hearing you say all that, they say, my social media account, Instagram, but I also care about my YouTube presence. Spotify is my #1 streaming platform. And I guess we'll skip TikTok for the sake of this, just so that we don't have too many options. What does that translate? So having them reply to you with that, so Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify, and they say, okay, that's what I want to do. what's the physical actions that I'm going to take?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I think there's two answers for that. For the social media side, I would say, first of all, pick the platform that you're the most comfortable on, because like you said with TikTok, if you're just diving into TikTok because, oh, it's the place to be, you know, for creatives now, which it is in a lot of ways, but I'm trying to kind of think practically, right? If there's a big barrier, a big learning curve where it's like, TikTok's so weird, I don't know if I fit the culture, like I'm not going to post because I'm too scared, right? That's a barrier. So maybe it'd be better off to focus on Instagram, right? So the actual actions that you can take fall into two categories. You can go the organic route or you can go the paid route. And for Instagram specifically, that'd be posting original organic content that is really cool and not boring. And I'm using boring in an intentional way because you have to actively try not to be boring on social media, right? And then the other side of it is learning the tool of ads, learning Ads Manager from Facebook, soon not to be Facebook, and then paying for that exposure, the exposure through ads that would normally come organically. Now let's take it to another platform. Yeah, Manchado says TikTok is the best platform to grow for free. Right, because the algorithm goes back to what I said earlier. The algorithm is so easily triggered because there's it's amazing how TikTok just always seems to feed you the thing that's perfect for you. And
it's almost creepy how good the algorithm is. And honestly, like, so I have two TikToks. I have one that's essentially just this YouTube channel for just on TikTok. So it's I think it's at Andrew.Southworth if anyone's curious, but easiest 5,500 followers I've ever gained in my life, like by a long shot. Like, I'm almost, 5,500 followers on there posting, I don't know how, like less than 50 1-minute videos. Like I've uploaded 600 videos to YouTube, maybe 650, something like that, to get to this like 45,000 or whatever. I mean, granted, a lot of these videos were not in the same subject because when I started, I was like 17 years old. And so a lot of them weren't good, but it still took me, a decade of learning and a lot of videos to grow. And even in the past few years, hundreds of videos. And TikTok, it was like 50 1-minute videos to get 5,500 followers that are fairly engaged. Now, other thing to reply to Manchado, Instagram Reels is pretty comparable, I'd say, like in terms of organic reach. I uploaded a video on that brand new band's Instagram, just an Instagram reel of me like screaming, like because it's a metal band. I'm not just randomly screaming. It's like screaming to a song, recording some vocals, and it got like 2,200 views in like the first day, and then it just died off randomly. But 2,200 views for free on Instagram Reels, like that's really good. And YouTube Shorts are also like a kind of a comparable thing in terms of reach. So if TikTok's too weird for you, I think you can be viable on Instagram organically with Reels.
Yeah, that's good insight. Yeah, I think what it comes down to is these platforms are really trying to compete with TikTok.
Yeah.
So their TikTok copy products are going to have to offer a similar experience, right? Otherwise, exactly what you said. I mean, we're just going to go to TikTok, which is the best platform to grow for free. So that might be creating opportunity on these older platforms that still have a lot of users.
Yeah.
But thinking over, okay, so you also mentioned YouTube and you mentioned Spotify as like, maybe if we were choosing 3 platforms to focus on, YouTube is an interesting one. I mean, it's one of my favorite platforms because it has the YouTube search bar, right? So as you guys know, YouTube's owned by Google, the biggest search engine in the world. YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. And the search feature of YouTube is a mechanism for discovery sometimes. So that adds in an element when other social medias they don't have that kind of search boost, so to speak, right? When was the last time you searched for anything on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok? And only when you're very specifically looking for a person that you already know, right? Or something that you've already seen. But for finding something that you've never seen before, YouTube offers that. And that kind of opens up a whole line of thinking. It's like, well, what if I record a cover of a song that just released, right? Now we're starting to talk about search traffic, right? If a new song comes out and people are typing it into the YouTube search bar, well, maybe your cover video can be the answer to that search, right? And so that's a whole line of thinking that I personally, I love talking about search. Ranking in search is called search engine optimization, in case anyone wants to learn more about that. But that's a unique feature to YouTube. So to kind of put a button on this question here, I would totally try to create content that could either rank in search on YouTube, or YouTube also has a really great ads platform as well, if you want to learn another ads platform. But it could be worthwhile, especially if you've determined that YouTube is a high value platform that you're going to invest in, over the months and years of your music career. Yeah.
I mean, obviously me and Ryan love YouTube because we've both built channels here. But I think like organically, the type of audience you can grow on YouTube is much higher quality. Like 50,000 followers on YouTube is much better than 50,000 followers on TikTok, like by a long shot.
I think it's definitive.
Like the quality of people that subscribe on YouTube, from myself, from everyone I've talked to, the most common thing I hear people who have large TikTok followings say, because I know multiple people with hundreds of thousands of followers, is that they can't get them to do a damn thing. Like they can't get them to go to a link. They can't get them to listen to their music. Some people do a great job. Like if they properly like integrated their music, and the people are there for the right reasons, then some people do great. But still, the ratio of people like that do things is much lower on TikTok. So on YouTube, if you get 50,000 people who and a certain percentage of them watch a decent amount of your videos, it's pretty good. I mean, you have 50,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. I would imagine if it's anything like you, having that audience has changed your life in some way.
It's changed my life. And it's also a factor of just I don't want to say watch time because that's actually a YouTube metric.
Yeah.
But so I'll say FaceTime instead. It's like the one-on-one, obviously there's a screen, but when you're flipping through TikTok, the watch time is so low because I mean, maybe you find one that's funny, but then you're flipping through 3 and then maybe there's another one. And I'm on TikTok to just like completely turn off my brain and just have fun. And hopefully something makes me laugh or I see something ridiculous. But YouTube, it being longer form, and obviously I'm not talking about YouTube Shorts. It's more relationship building at the end of the day. I'm obviously not looking at the camera, but when I film a video, I'm looking at the camera and we're making eye contact, and maybe that eye contact lasts for 10 minutes. And what does that do to the brain? I don't know, but it's something, and it translates into a higher quality relationship at the end of the day. And maybe it's just a better platform for clicking things as well, because you mentioned
that's definitely true.
Leaving TikTok, unless if it's a sponsored ad. Honestly, my probably number one action if I'm interested in something is just to swipe over and see if there's any similar videos, not necessarily go off app, right? Or off site like we would on YouTube, right? Because you can open another tab, or if it's on the phone, it'll just open the other app onto Safari fairly easily because those description links are right there.
Yeah.
Not so much on TikTok. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a link on TikTok.